So what could have been reversed before things got out of control didn't because I didn't have the knowledge. If only I could have told myself that nutrition really is 80% of the battle. The main thing I do is I ask myself, is this protein or is it processed?
Hey friends, this is the Next Level Glam podcast, and I'm Glam Gal. Thank you for joining me as I discuss all things transformation, inside and out, with my sisters in Christ. Pull up a chair, it's about to go next level.
Hey sis, good morning. Or, whatever time of the day you decided to press play and hang out with me. I so appreciate it. Today I want to talk to the girlies who reached out to me to talk about nutrition. Such an important aspect on the journey when we're talking about the physical transformation. So, before I go ahead and get started on this topic, I just want to reiterate to the listeners that I am not a nutritionist or a doctor or physician. I'm just a fellow woman who, grew up on diet culture, spent a good amount of my youth being morbidly obese, and now on the other side, I've lost about 90 pounds, give or take 10 pounds, depending on the pool of the moon. That being said, I really would like to share some things that I've learned, tips to assist people who find themselves in a similar boat. And helping each other through these kind of challenges and struggles is something that I'm very passionate about. After losing the weight, having plastic surgery, recovering from plastic surgery, nutrition has played a strong position in all of it. And I've learned a lot along the way, how it affects the body. And I continue to keep on doing so because I keep changing my mind. I keep trying to fix the cognitive dissonance that I was raised to believe was truth, and that actually caused me to find myself in that crazy situation that I was in. I also keep doing it because I want to maintain and excel, where I'm at today. But whether I'm looking to lose weight or not, there are some things that I've done to keep myself at a place that is sustainable. And that's a key term right there today, is sustainable. So if that's something that interests you, keep on listening. Personally, I think the first part with nutrition is understanding that we were lied to, deceived by public information systems and marketing companies, which trickled into our schools and our homes about what eating healthy looks like. A lot of us learned about the food pyramid, right? And until a handful of years ago, I would have sworn by it. It was like my key of reference. However, I like to say this time and time again that 2020 opened my eyes to a multitude of things. I finally had the connection point that the food pyramid is a scheme meant to, get us sick and be malnourished. I also learned that the marketing companies had the ability to label products as healthy or organic when they're just overprocessed, chemically enhanced synthetic foods. So really not even a food. It's basically plastic we're eating when, like, not to be so dramatic, but basically guys, basically food doesn't look like it once was. I learned that seed oils and plant-based products are doing what they have accused red meats, fats, and dairy of doing. It's like completely the opposite. It makes you ask the question of when did we get to the point of just being spoon-fed everything to the point where we question God and we doubt God's provision for us and our needs, that the meat and vegetation he gave us liberty to consume would be bad for us. I feel like it always stems out of fear. It really does, guys. We've gotten pushed into a corner to think that man-made stuff is better for us. I've had to learn that there is an agenda to make us sick from lack of nutrients and spikes in sugars and diseases in all forms from heavily fried fake foods, so that we get to a place of sickness and the fear takes hold of us to look to drug companies to fix the problem they created. I mean, there's just been articles coming out left and right about the addictive stuff that they put in our foods to make us want them and want them all the time. It does cause us to have to wake up to certain things when we want to make progress in our physical transformation. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. We've got to change our mind about what we think we know about food and establish knowledge and a healthy relationship with it. Growing up, I remember waking up and eating boxed cereal, boxed waffles, Pop-Tarts, juices, packaged foods for breakfast on the regular. Totes true. My mom always pushed us to look at the serving sizes on the back, but nevertheless, we had it be the norm that breakfast came out of a box and the ingredients irrelevant. Who even cared to know such things, right? Of course, I remember a handful of times that, I had homemade breakfast, but it wasn't the norm. My mom was getting up every day to go to work and we'd had to go to school. And we'd come to the table, pour ourselves some cereal, and, hi ho Cheerio. That's pretty much what breakfast consisted of. I grew up on public school lunch and post school gas station treats. Like Little Debbie's had me in a chokehold. By the time I was in high school, I observed years of watching my mom struggle with her weight, food habits, and self esteem issues. And naturally, these were passed down to me via my observations and actual comments to my body, people having expectations for it to look a certain way. In my family, specifically one side of it had an overt struggle with obesity. As we lived 2,000 miles away from my family, when we would see them every other year, it would be the first thing that they would notice or comment on was our physical stature. They were just basically waiting for us to become another one of the big ones. Like I've said in episodes past, that I tended to be on the bigger side of most of my girls in my classes. But, looking back, I realized that I wasn't as big as everyone, including myself, made me out to be. However, there was room to be healthier, but I just didn't have the knowledge. So, what could have been reversed before things got kind of mainly out of control didn't because I didn't have the knowledge. I would say that I was mid high school that my mom started doing what I think the big fad was the South Beach diet, where you essentially cut out white flour, sugar, processed stuff, right? Just kind of seems like common sense. And she was very fanatical about it, buying South Beach marketed products, never allowing real soda, only diet, which looking back to me is funny to me now, honestly. And although she saw results and I learned a bit about why it worked nutrition wise, it was still the tip of the iceberg as far as my understanding, but it was almost too late for it to take. It was just kind of too little too late. I already established a pattern for eating out of convenience, and I failed to see the connection to the ingredients, the quality, and what that meant in the short and long term. Fast forward to when I was in my mid to late 20s trying to lose weight, drinking diet soda, processed diet breakfast bars, lean cuisines, that I plateaued. I stopped seeing progress on the scale, in the mirror. I didn't understand as I was counting calories, all right, making lighter options, being more active, and it just wasn't cutting it. It was very, very frustrating. If only I could have told myself that nutrition really is 80% of the battle and that those diet products, the way that I looked at things, were a big issue in fueling my body, right? We're always talking calorie deficits, diet soda, diet products. Nutrition is 80% of the battle. So if you're working out 80% and you're eating 20% good, you can't outrun a bad diet. It really comes down to you fixing nutritional issues. When I fall off the wagon, I focus on my nutrition first and then the, rigorous workouts that I want to do. You can't outrun the fact that you're going out to eat, 4 days a week or more, or that you're eating late at night. These boundaries that we have with nutrition and food are important to see results. I know that since coming out of the other side of this mentality, one thing has proven to be essential in terms of nutrition, and that is protein. As a friendly reminder, protein is an absolute essential thing in terms of our body. It uses it as an energy source. It helps repair our muscles, bones, hormones, enzymes, pretty important things for our functionability throughout the day. The other non science part of that is that protein fills you up and it keeps you full longer. It's totally true. When you're on a weight loss or a health journey, the goal is not to eat as much junk or consume as much in terms of the volume of food. And protein is key when we're attempting to see or feel some change. I know it sounds super cliche, but you are what you eat. And when you start really focusing on eating these whole foods, specifically protein, how much stronger and focused you are in the day instead of the junk that you pick up at the store or in the takeout lines, you should be pretty aware of how it makes you feel. It makes you feel like garbage, really. Protein curbs those cravings. So it's smart to have protein at every meal. Make it the star of the show. And the exciting part is that protein comes in many forms. We got meat, eggs, dairy, nuts, and seeds. And yes, it comes in handy powders to consume in a tasty made drink. If you can even have protein within an hour of you waking up, your day is already on a different trajectory. Learning to incorporate protein as your best friend at meal times makes the difference and it keeps you light, bright, full. And I personally find protein options some of the tastiest out there. So, like here in my present day, what do I eat? What do my meals look like? Everyone's journey and lifestyle is incredibly different. So, I like to preface this with that. And I think that it's important to consider that we have a tendency to compare ourselves to others, thinking that doing what they're doing is going to work for me or deliver the same results. But like I've said in the past, you got to go your own way. You have to learn what's holding you back. What are the things that you're doing that need to be changed? Listen to your body, make tweaks, that work for you. We all don't like the same food. We don't feel as hungry in certain parts of the day, or possibly we just have completely different goals to meet, different lifestyle. But it's completely different than what I remember, let's just say even 5 years ago. Huge difference. The main thing I do for myself as far as nutrition is I ask myself, is this protein or is it processed? The short form of that, I mean, is it's ingredients over calories. Like there's such an obsession with counting calories. I almost want to consider it like an eating disorder. I mean, we all have to start somewhere and we all have to give each other grace on our journey because we have to figure things out for ourselves. But I started seeing numbers with foods all the time, and then I would be punishing myself if I went like 2 calories over. And it's just not a healthy way to live life. It's not sustainable. When I say ingredients over calories, example, I know that a marketed diet breakfast bar has 90 calories, one that tastes and looks great too, right? And a ribeye steak has somewhere between 600 and 900 calories, depending on many factors. But the breakfast bar has over 20 ingredients. The steak has one itself. And people are like, so what? 20 ingredients. Just like, what are those ingredients? Just stop yourself there and look at those ingredients. The breakfast bar that claims to be low calorie and helpful to our overall diet has 2 grams of protein. The steak, around 70 grams of protein. That's amazing. Which one do you think I'm picking at this point? Because literally 5 years ago, it would have been the breakfast bar and the steak was like reserved for, fancy occasions. Now we see steak all the time. We make it a priority to have steak in the budget. I learned that these diet foods, low cal, low fat, were just a band-aid for a much more deep-seated issue called obsession with sweets, right? Emotional binge eating, things like that, the addiction to the sugars, thinking I was allowing myself a safe treat for breakfast. It would then later sabotage my entire day with a demand for more sweets. And at the same time, I was already starving. Not to mention, I was eating foods that were a chemical crap storm that do have an effect on our body, guys. I get really upset that people do not understand whether it's the top food chain fast food place that you're eating at or that no sugar coffee syrup. It's all fake and we need real food. Let's say our iced coffee fanatics, they like them so much, but they know it adds up in the sugar and the calories. But instead of just training themselves to have, like, say, one a day, which is still a lot, but it's better, like little baby steps, right? So if you're just down to like one smaller size iced coffee a day with the real deal, or every once in a while as a treat, they have some like fake sugar stuff that they consume around the clock so they can have 7 of them when, yes, you're not stacking up the calories, but your body absorbing. It's like sludge that your organs have to filter out. It's really something I would look into if you are fixated on the diet food culture, because you may lose weight with those products. But I sit here and I'm waiting for the feedback to come in the future about the damage that these products do to our bodies, because I see it all the time where people are eating out of a box all day long, consuming fake over processed food as a regular thing, and they don't understand why they can't have change. The difference for me really took off when I start my day off with protein. Yes, like a big fat steak or bacon and eggs. I'm full for hours and I feel good. I have fuel for a workout. I'm encouraged that I can eat good and tasty food and quite a bit of it. I plan my meals around the protein and I eat mainly that and whatever else we can put on the plate that is unprocessed as possible. Having a direct line to good meat outside the store with no hormones, all the crap in it, has been a huge upgrade. The quality and the peace it brings to me is unmatched. Real farm fresh eggs, right? Like fresh off the farm, not the plastic ones they have at the store. Life changing. No joke. When it comes down to the busy days, I get it. You're like, I don't have time to eat steak and eggs in the morning. I get it. Not all my mornings look the same either. We have to make some adjustments and preparations for success to happen. So I find myself having hard-boiled eggs, venison sticks, string cheese are my go-to. Starving yourself isn't the answer. That much I will tell you. There's so much science that shows that. Like, you need to be fueling your body and fueling it with good things. Grilled chicken and veggies, beef burgers, porterhouses. Oh my. These things, my world revolves around when it comes to things that are on my plate often. If I do have a sweet craving and I don't want to indulge, you get some more protein, like peanut butter, create a smoothie concoction with Greek yogurt, and yes, maybe even some protein powder for a shake instead of depending on things like all the stevias and the sucraloses and things like that. You can use maple syrup and honey, like life's natural sweeteners, which our body knows how to deal with. Our body wasn't made to digest synthetic foods. The point here I'm trying to make to you is it's real food, and you eat when you're hungry and make it protein. Very simple. Try it for 2 weeks. I guarantee you're going to feel and see a difference. But I am going to be very real with you here. I always say this. I'm not sitting here like I'm done with the journey, guys. I'm still learning. But the one thing I always have told myself over the years is make it sustainable. You've got to make this whole dance sustainable, which means that you're doing it for the long term with longevity as a lifestyle. That's the problem with fad diets. You're going to do keto and you're going to cut out the bread and sugar, and then you drop the weight and you feel comfortable. As soon as you put that baguette in your mouth, on comes the weight and on comes it fast. There's just a lot of reasons to it. The ingredients, most people, they have that where once they think they've overcome that addiction to food, they put the carb back in their mouth and it just overtakes them because they never dealt with the main issue, which is the overeating and the cognitive dissonance, repairing what you're overeating that does the most damage to you. By me sharing what I did in this episode, I want you to understand that I still eat foods that are more processed than protein. It's hard not to, especially here in America. They make it like a full-time job for you to have to hunt down good food because your girl loves a taco from the Bell. I can't deny it, all right? But that's occasionally. And even though I will say I get cravings and I want certain foods, it's diminished over the years, and it keeps diminishing as I educate myself about how foods are made. It's like the Lord also can just take the taste for certain things away. I'm not saying he can't, but I love an ice cream or a cocktail, and you cutting things out that you crave and denying yourself is like literally a segue for you getting back into a binge cycle or falling off the wagon, etc. I just don't give it power and I keep it limited, right? Because I tell myself I can have some of that, instead, I can have one and then I don't find myself binging on 10 later. So if I want something, I can have it because most of the food I have is not processed. And I know that that one treat is not going to be taking me further from my goals. It adds to the moment of happiness and I'm allowed to enjoy it in the now with my family. I want an ice cream cone with my family. I just don't, I just, I get a small and then I eat half. I listen to my body. Sometimes I literally just need a nibble of cake. Okay. I've learned that I don't need a whole piece of cake. I just need a nibble. So it's a matter of not making it an everyday habit. It's all about perspective. And we realize that this thing is, like I said, a lifestyle change. I don't eat fast food or out to eat more than once a week. I'm really even trying to bring that number down as time goes on. I don't wake up and eat a bowl of chemically dye-induced sugared cereal for breakfast. I don't starve myself all day, every day. I don't count calories. I count ingredients. I reach for the eggs at minimum and I start pounding that electrolyte water to give my body what it needs to do what I want to do. It needs protein and it needs water. And your water and you need electrolytes to deliver that hydration to your body. So, eat whole foods. Shoot for protein. Hydrate yourself. And remember, real food is not your enemy. The food industry is. We need to wake up and start implementing some of these things to feed ourselves with top tier options that are going to take us to our goals. I'm just wondering, are you a calorie counter or find yourself in a system dancing to avoid certain foods? Are you someone who allows yourself to eat more processed as a rule, or are you prioritizing protein? I'd love to know where you're at in your journey, and if you have any other questions for me, please come over to my Instagram at the Next Level Glam Podcast. Drop me a DM, comment, hang with me in the stories, share some recipes with me. I'm all about learning here too. I know that there's some fellow brethren here that probably already know this information. I'm learning new things all the time, but I can honestly tell you that what I'm sharing here with water and protein, that's a foundational principle that has not steered me wrong. But yeah, you can share some tips that have impacted your journey in a positive manner. I would love that. It's very encouraging on my end too. And I would love your support and input along the way. So I can't wait to see you here next time at the Next Level Glam podcast. I'm so looking forward to it. And until next time, grow in His grace.